Call a Pennington County Commission meeting for December 1st, 2015 to order. We'll stand for a moment of silent reflection, Pledge of Allegiance led by Sheriff Tone. Thank you. The next item is to review and approve the agenda. Does anyone wish any changes in the agenda?
Good morning, Commissioners. Holly Hennies, Commission Office Manager. At this time, I'd like to respectfully request that we remove item 19A from today's agenda.
Okay, are there any other changes? If not, do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the agenda with item 19A removed. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item is the consent agenda. Holly?
Okay, for public notice, the Board of Commissioners uses the consent agenda to act on non-controversial and routine items quickly. The consent agenda is acted upon by one motion and vote of the board. Items may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda at the request of a board member or a citizen. Today's consent agenda contains the following items: approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of November 17th, 2015. Approval of the vouchers in the amount of $420,553.67. Items 7, 8, 9, and 10 are to schedule public hearings on December 15th, 2015 at 9:15 a.m. for the year-end general fund budget supplements as presented on the agenda. Number 11 is the approval of the Sheriff's Office Training Officer differential pay as presented by the Sheriff. Number 12 is to approve the contract for waste disposal services with Waste Connections of South Dakota, doing business as Kiefer Sanitation, as submitted by Buildings and Grounds. Number 13 is to acknowledge the purchase of the courthouse water cooler chiller through TCPN, as submitted by Buildings and Grounds. Number 14 is approval of the county meeting recording policy as amended, as submitted by myself. Number 15 is approval of the commission cell phone stipend policy, as presented by myself. And finally, number 16 is to declare surplus for the purpose of trade-in, capital asset number 5572, which is a Sharp copier model as submitted by Department of Equalization.
Does anyone wish any of the items on the consent agenda removed? Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item is item 17, which is a county cares presentation by Janet Saylor, County Treasurer.
Good morning, Janet Saylor, County Treasurer. I don't know if you can you read that?
And we have
For those of you who may not be aware, South Dakota Codified Law 1021 7.1 allows for monthly payments of property taxes by electronic transmission. The Board of Commissioners signed a resolution on September 2nd, 2014, allowing the Treasurer's Office to set up this program. The program allows people to apply at the Treasurer's Office before December 15th of each year. The taxpayer picks up an application from our office, fills out the application, and it authorizes us to debit their checking or savings account electronically for their taxes. The taxes are taken out in 10 equal installments. The first half of taxes may be higher because it includes any special assessments. After the first half is paid, then the special assessments have to be paid the first half, then their monthly payments may decrease. Their account is debited no later than the 3rd of each month from January through October, and we don't deviate from the process because it's in statute. I know we've had some people that have called and said, no, I don't want you to take money out in January, but you can take 2 payments out in March for February and March. We can't do that. Once it's set up, it goes on 10 consecutive payments. We send out a letter to those who applied last year. We sent them all a letter and asked them if they wanted to continue to be on the program. If they wanted to continue, they didn't have to notify us. We would just keep doing it the way we'd done it for them last year. If they don't want to continue on the program, then they have to put it in writing and notify us to remove them from the program. After that, we send out a letter to them once the levies are approved by the state that Julie submits, and we load it into our system. Then we let them know how much money is going to be debited from their account each month. Once a person signs up, we send them a letter every October. Right now, we have 24 parcels that are paying using the system in 2014, and there is no charge for this to the county. It's really, the reason we set this up is because we had people that were coming in that said that they couldn't pay their taxes because they couldn't save money. And if they put it into a savings account, they spent it. So the law said we could do it, so we went ahead and set it up. And it's really very simple. All they have to do is fill this out, attach a copy of their check, and we do the rest for them. And then we send them receipts once their payments are made, posted in April and in October. So anyone that's interested in this program needs to get signed up before the 15th of December.
Any questions for Janet?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So Janet, how do we let people know?
We have it on the back of tax notices. A week ago, we did a radio talk show where we talked about it. As a matter of fact, we had people come up and call after they heard it on the radio. I'm hoping that we can get it in the Rapid City Journal. And our plans are to call the television stations this week.
That's good.
Well, Ms. Janet, I think this is another way to show people that Pennington County cares and that your office works very, very hard to make a difference in taxpayers or just Pennington County constituents' lives. So I think it's pretty awesome. Seems like Pennington County does it best for trying to make a difference in every department here, and yours is just one of them that adds to it. Thank you, Ms. Janet.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. Next item is item 18, which is a proclamation relative to law enforcement officers' appreciation and candlelight vigil and a red ribbon campaign conducted by the MAD organization. Holly, did you want to read the proclamation, or is there someone scheduled to do so?
If I can get a copy of somebody's, I would love to do that. Okay, today's executive proclamation reads as follows. Whereas Mothers Against Drunk Driving was founded by Candy Leitner in 1980 following the death of her 13-year-old daughter, Carrie, in Fair Oaks, California earlier that year. Carrie was walking to a school carnival when a drunk driver struck her from behind. The driver had 3 prior DWI convictions and had been released on bail from a hit-and-run arrest just 2 days earlier. And whereas MAD is the nation's largest nonprofit organization working to protect families from drunk driving and underage drinking, and whereas there were 47 deaths and 583 injuries in South Dakota due to impaired drivers in 2014. Impaired driving remains one of the nation's most frequently committed crimes, and there remains a critical need for continued education, increased enforcement, and tougher laws and penalties for offenders. And whereas Pennington County recognizes the importance of MAD's efforts to raise awareness of the dangers associated with impaired driving and admire the vital roles and of support MAD representatives give to Pennington County law enforcement officers. And whereas Pennington County recognizes the commitment to their community made by their team of local law enforcement and appreciates their dedication to all Pennington County residents. Now therefore it be resolved that the Pennington County Board of Commissioners is pleased to support the efforts of all Pennington County law enforcement and MAD members who have continued to work hard to eliminate impaired driving, and is proud to proclaim our recognition and support of MAD's Law Enforcement Officer Appreciation, Candlelight Vigil, and Red Ribbon Campaign. We encourage all Pennington County residents to support the team of MAD and Pennington County law enforcement officers by attending this event on December 10th, 2015 at 4 p.m. on the Western Dakota Tech campus. It is important to show continued support to families who have lost a loved one to impaired driving and to recognize those team of individuals who protect us from impaired drivers as part of their daily routine. Signed this first day of December 2015.
Do we have a motion to approve the signing of the proclamation?
Mr. Chair, I would move to approve your signature on the application, I'm sorry, on the resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Thank you,
just-
Holly.
Just to say that I would be reading that at the, it's requested by Lila to read this at the day of vigil, so
Great.
Thank you.
thank,
We have a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Next item is item 19, and item A has been removed to January 5th.
Yes.
So we're item B.
Item B is the public hearing for a wine retail on-off sale license renewal for the Dollar General Store and for Prairie Berry Winery.
move approval?
Second?
Motion and a second. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
19C is the public hearing for the liquor retail on sale with Sunday sales license renewal for the Rimrock Event Center.
Move approval?
Second?
Motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
19D is the public hearing for a new wine retail on-off sale license for the Gaslight.
Move approval?
Second?
Motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thanks.
You did good, Julie. Item 20A, a proposed agreement for Pennington County to purchase property located at 328 and 328.5 Quincy Street. Jay?
Good morning, Commissioners. Jay Alderman with the State's Attorney's Office. 2 weeks ago, just for your review, I presented the proposed purchase agreement for this property just south of us here. And so today is the day that I would ask the Commission, and I have a proposed motion that I think is in your packet of the materials you received for today's meeting. And so I would ask the Commission to approve the agreement and approve the motion that's being proposed. And I can read that motion.
Would you please?
Motion to approve the real estate purchase agreement between Pennington County and Jerry and Patricia Johnson in the amount of $160,000, and to authorize the Commission Chairman to sign said agreement and the County Auditor to issue a check for the purchase price, plus the county's obligation for any additional fees or costs associated with closing, and to further authorize the Chairman and Auditor to sign any and all additional documents necessary to carry out the purpose and intent of the agreement.
That'd be my motion.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. Discussion on the motion.
Is this one house or two houses?
There's two, There's the main house that the Johnsons actually reside on, and then essentially the backyard is a grandfathered-in, very, very small residence that they have renters in, that's adjacent to the alley.
And we're giving him $160,000 for that.
For both residences and the property, the land.
These, the pictures in Exhibit A of the items that the owners wish to remove, is that correct?
That's correct, and that's and maybe this is an appropriate time to discuss this. What I have let the Johnsons know is that at this point, we don't know what means if we end up with either of the residences. In other words, they don't remove either one, how we want to dispose of those. Obviously, they're going to go because we want the dirt. And so we can either auction them off, go through the process to auction them off, or I've heard that there's some interest perhaps for a donation to any number of potential organizations that would utilize those homes for the folks that don't have a residence of their own and can't afford one. So depending on what route the commission would want to go on that, I've let them know that the items that they want to take, which is some, Mr. Johnson's a carpenter by trade and likes to do that, and he's created some nice mantle work that, as you can see in the couple of the photographs, that he wouldn't mind taking with him, and a couple of the other items that are there. I don't know personally as I stand here how that would impact either the auction of these residences or the donation of these residences, if it would have a major impact or not, meaning do we care if they took those items in Exhibit A or not? I'm not really the one to know that, frankly, and I would have to, I don't know if Buildings and Grounds would have a better idea on that or not. But that's kind of the status of where that's at. I'm not sure it would make a big difference, but as I stand here, I can tell you I'm really not an expert on that. I don't know how that would impact value or usage and that kind of thing. So I don't know if there's anyone from Buildings and Grounds here that might have any kind of comment. I don't think they were prepared necessarily to address that question, but if they are and have a comment, I don't know if we,
Nope.
doesn't look like we have anyone here, so.
Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Chair, I do have one comment. It's, from what I'm hearing, it's going to cost us more than $160,000 to get where we want it to go, right?
With disposing of the residences?
To get to where we want to go, we want dirt. To get there, it's going to cost us more than $160,000.
This contract, just to break it down, the Johnsons will have to pay their stormwater assessment and their taxes up to the date of closing. So that takes away, that drops the 160 down because that comes out of the 160. But then we have some closing costs, and I've not yet received those, but it's not going to be a huge number by any means that will bring that back up. So the final dollar amount is going to be relatively close to the 160. Then to further try to answer your question, if someone were to purchase or we were to donate the residences, obviously we would want them to be responsible for the costs associated with removing those, shutting down the utilities, picking them up, and literally moving them. So our hope would be that whether you sell them or donate them, either way, we reduce our costs significantly in the actual removal of those residences.
Any other questions or comments? We do have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried, 3-2.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next item is items from equalization.
Good morning, Commissioners. Shannon Rittberger, Director of Equalization. There are 3 abatement requests before you. A and C come from my office. B is from property owner. A is Ellsworth Development Authority. This is property that was purchased by a state agency, and upon their ownership is exempt from property tax for at least part of the year, and the abatement makes the adjustment for that part of the year.
I'll move approval.
Second?
Motion and second to approve item A. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item B.
Item B is Macy. This is an abatement request that comes to you from the property owner. Property owner is represented by an attorney. The attorney told me that they wouldn't be here, and I don't know if anybody is. But you have a memo from the attorney, you have a memo from my office. You can see from the memo that I recommend granting the abatement request.
I'll move approval.
Second?
Motion and a second to approve item B. Discussion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
when are we gonna fix this problem of owner occupied? You know, we've been through this, what, 4 or 5, 6 months ago. The way I read this, this person was on that deed, is still on that deed. Just because a person changed on that deed shouldn't take the owner occupied away from the person that remains. Are we gonna fix that problem one of these days?
That's not a problem. When ownership of the deed changes, then the owner-occupied classification is removed per state law. This was not a deed, though. This was termination of joint tenancy, but it comes through our office looking like a transfer of ownership because we still have to remove the name from the tax record. So we removed the name, as we should, but we pulled the owner-occupied classification like we would with any transfer of ownership. Jay has told us that this is not a transfer of ownership. This termination of joint tenancy is different than a transfer of ownership.
Mr. Chair, if I might, forgetting all the ins and outs of this form versus this form, fact is that that person is still on that document. So why was her owner occupied removed?
Because it looked to us like a transfer of ownership, and it wasn't.
We can't fix that problem?
Well, this is how we fix it.
Any other questions or comments? We have a motion and a second. Jay, did you wish to comment?
Just to the extent there may be some confusion about the opinion I gave to the Equalization Department. In a joint tenancy, when you have a deed issued as in joint ownership with right of survivor, both entities own the property 100%. So when one passes away, the other one already owns 100% of it. So there's no legal transfer. It was already done. All it means is that the individual who has passed away no longer has a claim to any portion of the property, but the ownership has always been 100% in both parties. So it's a technical issue, but it is true. It's not a deed conveying interest. It's taking away a claim, essentially, and that's why the Register of Deeds, you have to do the termination of joint tenancy. So you're terminating the fact that there's 2 people that have a claim to the property. You're not deeding a new interest or ownership in the property to the survivor because they already had it and always did. So it's very technical, I understand that, but that is the law.
And then the next step is that our ownership records and our tax records have to reflect what's recorded in the Register of Deeds. And there was 2 names, now there's only 1. So we have to change the tax record to match what's recorded.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
And Mr. Chair, if I can respond, last spring, there was just the opposite situation. A person's name got added to a piece of property. Forget the document, deed, or whatever you want to call it. Person's name got added. The person that had her name on that property for years and years and years lost owner occupied. So we need to fix this problem. The CRV, Certificate of Real Estate Value, if that's the core issue, then maybe we need to work with Peer and find something a little more simple so that people aren't caught in this owner-occupied deal. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried.
Item C is a mobile home in the ownership of Chase Manhattan Bank. This was a mobile home that moved to North Dakota in 2013. It moved without a move-in permit. The treasurer has, or the commission has declared the 2013 taxes uncollectible. Obviously, the mobile home is not in Pennington County anymore. This is an abatement for 2014.
Any questions or comments? Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the abatement as presented.
Is there a second?
Second?
Motion and a second.
I have a question.
Discussion.
Yeah. We're abating the taxes, we're not refunding anything to them.
Yeah, no, they were not paid. In fact, 2013 wasn't paid, and this is 2014, and it wasn't paid either.
How much, because I would not be in favor of giving them back money when they owe us money.
Well,
But this is, not we're not refunding them anything.
No,
We're just
no.
basically canceling the 2014.
If the taxes were paid and an abatement was granted, then it would result in a refund. These were not paid.
Any other questions? If not, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon and Jay. Item 22, items from the Highway Department, 5-year construction plan.
Good morning, Tom Wilsey from the Highway Department.
Morning.
What I have presented to you is the 5-year construction plan as it sits right now. As you read the plan, you see I made the assumption of the wheel tax, because what I am setting up here is the 5-year plan so I could apply for big funds if the wheel tax stays in place. If the wheel tax is defeated, this is worth the paper it's printed on. We'll start over again. What I need is for you to approve and adopt this 5-year plan so that I can turn it into Pierce so they can approve it within the next 2 weeks. My request for the motion is for you to adopt it and have the chairman affix his signature on it. Any questions, please?
Any questions for Tom?
Mr. Chair, did you fix the funding?
I'm going to fix it. I had already submitted this to you. I had the I can't say it now.
Unorganized road?
Unorganized road. I have it wrong in this. I did not include it. I will have to include it for what I submit.
Any other questions for Tom? If not, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd move to adopt the 5-year plan as presented by the Highway Department and approve the chairperson's signature on the front page.
Second?
This is,
Motion.
I would prefer you approve it with the corrections that I will submit to you this afternoon.
Okay, all right. That's what I said. Is that what you seconded? I did.
You okay with that, Karen?
Councilman Scary?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
I am requesting that once you sign this, to let me know, and I will come get it so that I can submit it to Pier with the correct paperwork that I've got.
Okay, what, in terms of the things you're gonna add to it?
I'm just going to correct the funding on it, it's about the fourth page, where I have to put in the unorganized road funds.
Okay. So when will that be done?
I will bring it into you as soon as I leave here. I'll go get it corrected.
Can you get from here to there and back again in
I
the
will
snow?
probably be back before you're done with the rest of the commission meeting.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second, and it has carried, so you're in business.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, since we opened the floor back up, let me make a comment that ostensibly, an unorganized road tax, that mill levy,
Okay,
is the prime source of funds for county roads and bridges.
I think we're done with that issue, so let's move on to item 23.
23.
Good morning, Scott Guffey, Pennington County Weed and Pest Director. I just wanted to give you an update where we're at on our stewardship agreement with the Forest Service to allow us to do the shade field breaks along our right-of-ways. It's moving along at a snail's pace because of, back when we signed that 10-year master, we mentioned this is the first of its kind in the region, so both parties are kind of proceeding cautiously, more so the Forest Service just want to make sure they get everything correct on what they're doing. We have identified where our first project area is, and that's the Idlewild Mountain Road. It's a 6.8 mile road. Roughly half of that is a county road, and that serves a number of residents, both full-time and summer, and then also campground there in Bear Gulch on the south side of Pactola Lake. This will complement the work that Forest Service has already done along the Silver City Road, which is the north access out of Silver City. They've done some timber sale activities up there and then also some fuel reduction activities. So this will be a good complement. We're anxious to get started on it. Forest Service's specialists are going through identifying sensitive areas. There's some riparian areas, some sensitive snail areas, and a goshawk area. So areas we gotta stay out of and watch out for. But in order to expedite the process, I'm asking for signature authorization on the supplemental participating agreements, project agreements. And those are, each time we do a project, it kind of details the area of work, and then it also identifies a financial plan. In the master, the chair was the signature, and that's how it would be on the SPAs, but or the project agreements. But if I can have that signature authority, that'll just speed up the process instead of me having to come back and bring it back in front of you. I do have authority on other agreements with the Forest Service and the state to sign, so it'd be similar to that.
What would your motion be, Mr. Guffey?
It's there at the bottom of the sheet. Scott Guffey to be authorized signature representative of the supplemental project agreements under the Forest Service Master Stewardship Agreement, Forest Service Agreement number 15-SA-110203006-037.
That'd be my motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next item.
When Nick's here, sir.
Good morning, Nick Street, HR Director. I know the next item on the agenda is items from Planning and Zoning at 10:30, but we do have some executive session items such as the department head evaluation and a few other items. So if you'd like, we could go into that and do it now, since you can't legally do your Planning and Zoning until 10:30.
What's your wish?
Be my motion is go into executive session.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second to go into executive session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Executive session.
So moved.
Motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, we're about a minute early, but we can just proceed, I believe. And we have the planning and zoning consent agenda.
Good morning, Cassie Bolstead, Assistant Planning Director. The Board of Commissioners uses a consent agenda to act on non-controversial and routine planning and zoning items quickly. The consent agenda is acted upon by one motion and vote of the board. Items may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda at the request of a board member or a citizen. The consent agenda for planning and zoning contains the following items. Item A, first reading and public hearing of rezone 1514 and Comprehensive Plan Amendment 1513 for David and Laura Moore. Approval is recommended. Item B, the first reading and public hearing of rezone 1513 and Comprehensive Plan Amendment 1512 for Larry Tuber. Renner Associates is the agent, and approval is recommended. Item C is minor plat 1526 for Stacy Titus, and approval is recommended. And item D is subdivision regulations variance 1515 for Stacy Titus, and approval is recommended for a portion and denial for a portion.
Does anyone wish any of the items on the consent agenda removed? If not, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd move to approve the consent agenda as presented by the Planning and Zoning Department.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Next item is item E.
Good morning, PJ Conover, Director of Planning Department. Item E is a vacation to section line right-of-way, VS 1502 for Hart Ranch Camping Resorts. They're requesting to vacate a portion of a section line right-of-way lying in the north or in the Hart Ranch Camping Resort parcel of Hart Ranch Development Subdivision located between section 18 and 19. The applicant, Tim, is in the audience today if you have any questions for him. A couple handouts that you have that I'll address right now is one, some comments came in late. One from two of them from the city, one from Vicki Fisher, and then also one from Ted from engineering. Vicki didn't give approval one way or the other as far as this vacation request, but Ted did not have an objection to it. The other item you have is actually an email we received this morning from the manager of Hart Ranch Development Company, who initially asked for a continuance because he wanted to talk with the applicant who's sitting to my left here. They've actually discussed Gene's concerns and are asking that this move forward for either approval or denial today and not continuation. So again, the applicant is requesting to vacate approximately 1,369 feet to the north side of the section line. This on the screen is the exhibit that you see. The applicant owns the portion of Hart Ranch Camping Resort parcel in section 18. They're asking to vacate 33 feet north of section 19. That would leave the 33 feet of the section line right-of-way still intact for public right-of-way. The property contains the 33 feet. Again, is owned by Hart Ranch Camping and Resort. It's a planned unit development. It was done back in 1993. It contains a camping ground, an RV resort, and camper storage area. It's approximately 23.95 acres. It's located entirely within Section 18, again, where the request for the vacation of the section line is. It does gain access off of Spring Creek Drive and Arena Drive, and there is 100-year floodplain on the subject property. As far as access goes down Arena Drive, it is an improved road to about 24-foot wide drivable asphalt surface, and Arena Drive is not affected by the section line vacation. It actually ends just short of Arena Drive as per the exhibit.
So PJ, you're not going to make an isolated track once we, in that area for those other properties. Where are they going to bring that road through so those properties have access if we
Right.
take this off?
So there's still going to be, if this is approved, there'll still be that 33 feet of section line right-of-way that's public right-of-way on section 19.
But when
And
they-
Arena Drive will go down into the two parcels to the south right here, owned by Hart Ranch Development Company. So Arena Drive will still provide access into the two lots owned by Gene, the complainant.
About to the right.
Right here,
when it
and to the
goes
right here, they still have the 33 feet of section line. If you
Comes
vacate the
down.
north 33, the south 33 will still be in place. In addition, the largest effective landowner, if you look at the bottom of page 2, top of page 3 of the staff report,
Okay.
they own roughly 3,500 acres surrounding section 19 and a considerable number of adjoining parcels, so they'll have section lines that they could use. But again, that south 33 feet of that section line is not being vacated with this request. It would still stay intact.
Well, what would make it, so he would ask for something that we already did for somebody else?
If he does come up at that time and ask requests, it is possible. But in talking with Gene this morning, the gentleman who owns that portion of land, he said that they have future development plans and they want to build a road through there. And the applicant, Tim, has talked with him, and they will actually be requesting to add an additional condition that the two landowners or managers of the land discuss any roads prior to them being built. And they want that actually in as a condition.
So why would this extra 33 feet need to be done in this development with all the land that they have? I could see if they were a parcel that needed to use that 33 feet, maybe for a setback or something, but it doesn't look like the case. Why would this 33 feet make that extra difference, and why would we do
The
that?
north 33?
Yes.
It's
yes, sir.
actually, if you consider the setback included in it, it's going to be 58 feet. So you have 33 for the section line, then 58 for the setback, and what they're looking to do, and I don't know the exact plans of what they have in mind,
Okay.
but they want to bring that 58 down to 25 and basically just have the 25-foot setback from the south property line.
Right next to a section line.
Mr. Chair, for clarification,
Yes.
I don't believe that the section line can ever become the individual private property owner's property. It still belongs to the public. It's just vacated for the purposes of trespass.
Correct.
That's my understanding of vacations.
Yeah, but they can't build.
We,
within-
the government, can unvacate or vacate the vacation if it's needed for public use. That's my understanding. So isolated tract isn't an issue. It's still the section line belongs to the public. It's just vacated for trespass purposes.
Well, the bottom line is, George, is that they don't build a road there later, and then people,
I just said, Mr. Chair, I just said it still belongs to we, the public.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Tim Schnabel, the resort manager for Hart Ranch Camping Resort, which is what we're requesting here. And the purpose for the vacation is simply to extend our storage for camping units. As this picture here demonstrates, all we want to do is extend that down. We're at capacity for our storage and just simply want to use that for more RV storage. So no buildings are going to be constructed, so at some point, you know, should there wish to be a highway built in there, a road built in there, I mean, there's now no permanent structures. I talked to Gene Attic this morning, actually just before this meeting, and he says as long as we agree, and I talked to our board president as well, and there is no issues for us. A board would, or a road would benefit us as well. And so there's no issues that we have, nor does Gene have, as long as we agree that, you know, we agree that a road can be constructed in there.
and I appreciate what George said, but, you know, most people don't know the law, George, like you or me, and know that a vacated section line cannot be built in. So you're taking for granted that somebody knows that, and then they build it in and ask forgiveness, and you can't tell me that's never done in Pennington County, because we do it all the time. So that would have been my concern, is when people think vacated, that they can build on it. They don't know the rules of Pennington County. So I'm going to vote for this, but that's not a true statement to think that that's still public, which I understand, but if someone builds on it, it's too late. If they're building right next to it or on it, thinking that that vacation was and could be used for more property.
So that statement, just so I'm clear as well, representing the landowner here, is that building construes or denotes buildings, physical structures, as opposed to parking, which does that go into the gray area? Because we're not building anything, but we want to, you know, we have to do some grading and put some gravel in there, so, which doesn't change, or doesn't really impede as far as building a road in there. Does that make sense?
So you're saying he's gonna build a road through there?
No, 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 no.
Or he's gonna put parking in at 33, vacated 33?
Nothing in the 33 feet.
Just buy it.
Right, just right up to the 33 feet.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just so you know where the 33-foot stops.
Oh, yeah, there will be a,
But, Mr. Chair, very clearly, that section line still belongs to the public. And anything that you do to that section line that has to be undone is at your expense.
And I haven't seen a commissioner yet undone anything yet, George, so I appreciate that, but that's not fact. So, we always give forgiveness, and a lot of times they're not. By that time, you got a house or a garage in there, and most of us aren't gonna say, well, take your garage or house out of there. I've seen it a bunch of times in the city, let alone Pennington County. So, that's not fact.
Any other questions or comments?
Move approval, Mr. Chair.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Go ahead.
The applicants asked that an additional condition be added,
Sure.
Okay, what is that?
and I'll get you a copy of this when we're done. That it read that prior to the vacation of section line right-of-way being filed with the Register of Deeds, the applicant will enter into discussion and reach an agreement with affected landowners when a road is to be constructed between the affected areas of section 18 and 19.
Good job.
That would be condition 6.
Thank you.
Does that meet the approval of the motion?
Yes.
And the second?
Yep.
You okay, Karen? Okay, we have an amended condition, but we do have a motion to approve. Any further comments by anyone? If not, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Next item is item F.
Good morning, Brittany Molitor. Item F is the Segment 3 Spring Creek Watershed Management and Project Implementation Amended Grant Agreement. On October 20th, 2015, the Pennington County Board of Commissioners approved the rollover of $99,479.80 of Project 319 grant funds from tasks 1A and 1B of Segment 2 to tasks 1A and 1B of Segment 3. An updated grant agreement is required to reflect this movement of funds from Segment 2 to Segment 3. So I am requesting a motion that the Pennington County Board of Commissioners approve the chairman's signature on the Spring Creek Watershed and Implementation Project Segment 3 amended grant agreement and submits it to the South Dakota Department of Environment and Natural Resources.
That'd be my motion.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Discussion on the motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a substitute motion. Let's give the money back and put this thing out of its misery.
Is there a second? Is there a second? Substitute motion dies for lack of a second. Back to the original motion. Any further comments? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item G.
Well, PJ again. Item G starts off as a memo. It's some requested ordinance amendments by our office moving forward. The vacation home rental ordinance amendment is actually going to go to legal today for review, and that's not part of this, as you've already approved that. But a couple of years ago, though, this body has requested that any ordinance amendments that our office, the planning department, would like to have brought forward, that it comes before the commission, the Board of Commissioners first, prior to going before the Planning Commission, so that staff time and taxpayer dollars not wasted on an amendment that you would ultimately vote against. So with that, we just have a few of them here in front of you that we'd like to discuss and ultimately just get your approval that we can move forward with all the research, the development, any committees or any meetings we would have to hold for these ordinance amendments. The first.
PJ, not to
Yes,
stop
ma'am.
you or interrupt you,
Sure.
sir, but why did you make the ordinance amendments? Did you have complaints? Did you see these yourselves, or
Little
both,
mixture
or-
of both.
Okay.
Just time in the office and issues that staff has encountered, things that applicants have encountered. So we all have a long list of things that we want to
So you
improve.
guys just took the initiatives off these things and did them?
Yep, it's also, yes, thank you. And it's also, there are some additions that will come later from the Planning Commission that they have wish lists from 2013 and 14.
As commissioners, at any time, we can come in and look at things with you, and if we think changes can be made, that we can put some of those changes forward with you.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So the first one is section 103, which is definitions. And essentially, we're just asking, there's subsections of the definitions that it is essentially in alphabetical order, but when you come to an area, like for example, the telecommunication facility permit, then there's a group of definitions under that, under T. And then there's their alphabetical order under that. What we want to do is take those sections, telecommunication facility permit for an example, and move them into their ordinance, so that they're easier to find, it's more understandable, and there'll be a note in the definition section that for any definitions for, say, telecommunication facility permits, that you go see that ordinance. We're looking to mirror kind of how city codes are written, where each section has their own definitions. That's the ultimate goal here, and we're just doing step by step.
Good job.
So that would be for section 103. The next one is section 401 under intent. There's a list of items in there to talk about nonconformities, but there's one also that talks about developmental lots, which comes up a lot in our office. What we want to do is take that paragraph out and make it its own section so it's easier to find. If you don't know it's there, you wouldn't know it's there. Section 507A5 for construction permits. What we would like to do is basically adjust the length of the permit. Instead of making it a one-year review, that we leave it up to the Planning Commission to decide how long the reviews are for construction permits. Section 507B for under mining permits, page 178. There's essentially just one paragraph for the mining permit. What we want to do is broaden that, make it more understandable, create what the expectations for the applicants are, what the criteria for compliance is, and also an appropriate fee schedule for the applicants. It doesn't really set the expectation of what the county has for any mining operations. Section 508B4 and Section 510A3, zoning and or rezoning, Section 179, a conditional use permit, page 181. Basically what this is doing is changing the verbiage for the required sign size for the hearing signs that have to be posted on the property. State law passed, changed the dimensions, we bought new signs. We're just changing the ordinance to reflect that. Page Section 506 under building permits. We want to restructure this area, kind of bullet point it. Right now it's just 4 paragraphs. Again, almost like the construction permit and the mining permit, set out what the expectations are for the applicants coming in so that there is something that can give us the authority to reject or not accept a building permit unless it is complete. In addition to that, we also want to look at the possibility of ending building permits if the applicants or landowners are no longer responsive to our office. There are some permits that we have for over 2 years that are unapproved because more information is required from the landowner or the applicant, and for some reason or another, they haven't responded to phone calls, emails, letters, registered mail, and we just want to be able to put in there the authority to be able to end those so we can close them out, so they don't remain as open building permits forever. Section 511A5, under fees, page 183, you can renew a building permit right now, and what we want to do is restrict it to a one-time, one-year extension. The way it's written now, you could update or extend your building permit indefinitely. And we know that if there was like 3 or 4 years, we've had somebody do it 2 or 3 years, they've extended it. So that's essentially a 5-year building permit. And we know plans have changed in that time, and we want to be able to add the authority to get that new information. And by ending it, we're hoping that people will move forward quicker with their building permits. Section 511A5 under fees, that's addressing the exceptions for the building permits. Commissioner Farabee brought up the question of anchoring a while ago, and we had mentioned that we will work with Commissioner Farabee to come up with a definition when we look at this section. We found some really good definitions. A lot of them, again, it came up from mobile homes in the flood area. That's why anchoring was put in there. And so we've looked through HUD and found some really good usable definitions of anchoring. So we think we can come up with a really good and definitive definition that will serve everybody's purpose. Section 511W2 under fees for late charges, basically just adding in that a sign permit is required. if someone was to put up a sign now and then come into our office for an application, there would be no penalty fee for that. They could just do it and ask for forgiveness. Where most of the other permits, if you do the action prior to the permit, you're paying a fine or possibly some other items. So we just want to add sign permits in there. It has happened at least 3 or 4 times that I know of this year. Item section 511W3 under fees, there's just a misspelling or a wrong word. We would like to change the word changes to charges. And these are just the beginning of the ordinance amendments you'll see throughout the next few months.
So you're looking for something, or
Just
you
looking-
just information?
Just looking for your blessing to move forward with these, because it'll take a considerable amount of time on a few of these. Or if there's any committees you'd like to see formed for any of these, we could do that as well.
Does it run through the planning commission as well, PJ?
Yes, absolutely.
I think they do a thorough job. I would hope if anybody on the commission or otherwise has issues beforehand, not to go after the staff on them, but actually go in there and help them with the changes, because I think it's conducive to Pennington County that if we do have, and I think it's appropriate, if we do have issues with some of the things in planning or otherwise, that we go in and visit with the people and then try to help with those changes instead of come up and tell people what they're doing wrong, because I think we are here on the side of solution, on this side of the dais. Complaint is, sometimes for me on this dais, gets old when there's no solution. There's only complaint. So I would hope that in the future that I would think our job is to help the staff if we have issues to move these forward, because I believe not everything in government is correct either. But it does help, and I'm living proof, and the rest of us are living proof. When you go in there and talk to them, they might not always make the changes, but they might give you the direction in where they came, and it makes a huge difference. And I've been in city and now county, and I'm trying to figure out some of these county rules, but the staff has been amazing. So again, remember, our side is solution. Pennington County, some of their ordinances aren't perfect either, but we're here to make that difference.
Any other comments?
So, Mr. Chair, do we need a motion to,
No, I'm just making sure there's no objection before we move forward. Unless you want to do a motion, but we're not requesting one.
I'm good with it.
Appreciate the update.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, ready for item 25. Any items from the commission members?
Hope you had a nice Thanksgiving. Did you all turn into turkeys?
Turkey's supposed to make you sleepy.
Maybe we should start pardoning a turkey.
Too funny.
Okay. Any committee reports?
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
the Mountain Pine Beetle Working Group met and has begun planning moving forward. And we're kind of changing direction now as the epidemic is decreasing considerably. And our focus is going to be trying to develop programs and processes to have a healthy forest so that we don't go through this again. And there's a lot of challenges with that, but I think from the very beginning, we hoped we'd be at this point someday where we could help develop a way to keep our forests more healthy. So it's going to be a challenge, and we can be very thankful to Scott Guffey for all the time he puts into that. He's been very much a big part of that.
I'm gonna go meet Scott Guffey's on Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah.
But see what he does and see his place, because there's another besides IT was him that I needed to visit. And also, we got a letter from the chamber, which they will be educating the public on the wheel tax, which we appreciate. So thank you, chamber.
Any other committee reports? Items from the public. Anyone from the public that wishes to address the commission?
Dan? We missed you. Come on, Dan. Carol, Bob?
Karen, do you want to?
Wait, we're like 10 to 11. We don't know what to do with this.
We need to get lives.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.